Hey guys, Character here with another review. This time I'll be reviewing the Digivolving Spirit 04 Angewomon from Digimon Adventure. This is another never before made Digivolving figure that changes from Gatomon into Angewomon. So, let's get started. First off, we'll look at the figure in its champion level Gatomon mode. So Gatomon here is done simply but effectively. Starting with her head, you can see that it's got a lot of the right details. It's very well proportioned. Take a look at her face, you can see the whiskers, her nose and mouth, and if we take a look at the eyes, you can see that they have individual molding lines for different segments of the eyes to reduce the chance of quality control and having some of the paint kind of bleed over into other sections. You can see that there's some nice matte coloring for the lavender on the ends of her ears, as well as for the pink inside. Coming down to her body, it's just a pretty simple white color. Then we also have her claw gloves, which have the nice orange kind of stripes on them, as well as the claws. If we take a little peek on the side, you can see her tail, individually striped, and you have a die-cast holy ring here, which does have the digicode written all around it. That being said, Gatomon is a figure that's best looked at from the front, because if we take a look at her from the back, then we kind of break the facade. As you can see, the Gatomon arms are basically just these plates that are covering up the arms of Angewomon, and we can actually see her shoulders and a bit of her hair inside these gaps. That being said, the back of Gatomon's head is covered up. You can see that the tail connects here at a proper point. There's also a little port here if you want to attach Gatomon to a Tamshi Stage Act 5. Articulation wise, there's a little bit, but not too much. You can move the ears backwards and forwards, though don't want to do it too much as these are partially transformation joints. The arms do move somewhat, but it's a little tricky because of how they're attached to the other arms. Though you can also bend her elbows, though that does get a little bit awkward just because of how you can see a little bit of the other arms underneath. There's a bit of articulation in her legs and feet. Now you can move them a little bit like this, and the feet are on these ball joints. Then for the tail, it's got a hinge right here, a second hinge here, and then the little tip of the tail is on a ball joint. Now as far as transformation goes, it's pretty simple, definitely a lot easier than the other ones we've had so far, and in terms of the kind of transformation it's what people in the Transformers community would call a shell former, in that it's basically a shell opening up to reveal the figure inside. So to start, we're going to take the head, pull it forward, lift up this flap, then flip it all the way around to reveal the upper torso and head of Angewomon. Then, I'm going to take the front of Gatomon's body and open it up like so, pulling it down to the back. We'll then split it apart. And one thing to note is that the actual shell part is detachable from Angewomon, though for the sake of the transformation we're going to want to keep it attached. So then we're going to fold these pieces up and outwards. Fold Gatomon's tail against the back. Then take this piece, lift it up like this, and fold down her legs. Then we'll take the feet and rotate them all the way around. Next we'll move to the arms, where we'll first fold them up like that, then twist them all the way around, to become part of her ribbons. We'll do the same for the other side. Then just make sure this is properly in place. But for this step, it's actually a little bit easier to take her off of the shell. I'm going to take the hair and kind of spread outward like this, and fold up the wings on her helmet. Then we attach it to the back. Then finally, we're going to take what were Gatomon's ears, fold them up, split them apart, then fold out the wings of Angewomon. And here we have Angewomon. So let's take a look at her in more detail. So the first thing I want to make mention of is this shell piece back here, because this is actually kind of an annoyance. You see, as I showed during the transformation, it's detachable. The problem is that for whatever reason, it doesn't want to stay in very well. It actually took me a few minutes just trying to get this thing in place for the initial shot of this segment, and that's just because it kept popping out. And it really is tough to get back in there, not only because in doing so you have a tendency to push this piece forward, which is not how it's supposed to be. Also because it just seems to not fit in very well, and that if I push it all the way in, it'll just push itself back out. And that is a shame, because I don't know why they made this detachable, just considering that Angewomon is never seen without the wings. Getting to that, we have the wings here, though the odd thing about it is that she's technically supposed to have 8 wings, but here we only see 4, and you can technically count these pieces down here as 2 more wings, as we can see little feather details on the inside, but that still leaves us with a count of only 6. You also see that this piece forms the back kind of loop of her ribbons that continue down her arms and then extend out here. Taking a look at the rest of the figure itself, we can see that it is nicely molded, has some good proportions. For the head, we have a die-cast helmet piece, well, some nicely painted and molded in details for the hair and her feathers. The 2 golden pieces on her chest are also die-cast. Have individually molded belts around her waist and around her thigh. Got the zippers, the different boots. You have another holy ring here on her ankle, and this one is also die cast. And all over the ribbons is more digicode. Articulation wise, she's definitely a lot more articulated than Gatomon was. Got a ball joint head. The hair pieces are a little bit articulated, though I personally don't like moving them very much because they're also on not the strongest of ball joints, as they also have a tendency to pop out. He's got a little bit of an ab crunch, and that's to make up for the fact that she has technically no waist joint. Legs can go forward and back a little bit. Unfortunately, they're not on extending stock like some SH figure arts have, so there isn't as much movement as there could be. Her knees all are double jointed though. And she has a nice little ball joint in her ankle, or it's more like a pivot and swivel. And for arms, you got ball joints at the shoulders, nice rotation joint at the bicep, double jointed elbows, and ball jointed wrists. And you can see that she's even painted and molded quite well on the back. Again, really I'd say the only problem here is how this piece comes off a bit too easily. As well, I'm sure there are people who would want to pose the figure just without the wings, though I'm really not sure why you would, because again, they're never really supposed to come off. I'm probably just going to super glue this in place when I'm done with the video, just because really I feel like this piece just completes the look. And there we go. So overall, while I commend Tamashii Nations for making this figure, as it's one that hasn't been done before, and I do appreciate the details and level of effort that went into it, I will say it does have a bit of a flawed execution in how the shell is removable. And that's for a couple of reasons. One being, as you've seen, it's really hard to get back in, and the second being that it's kind of a vital component if you don't have a stand, because Angewomon has heels on, and similar to how women have trouble walking in heels, this figure has a tough time standing up on those heels without something to brace herself, such as the actual shell it comes with. And I just feel like it would be a better figure if it weren't detachable. That being said, it is definitely a really good figure in terms of everything else, and it's definitely the best Digivolving figure we have of Gatomon, considering it's not the first time that one has been made, that first time being part of a Bandai America exclusive triple changer that changed from Gatomon to Aquilamon, then to Sylphimon, and that one was really weird looking, especially because it used Aquilamon's claws as Gatomon's front paws, so this is definitely an improvement. So if you're a fan of Gatomon and Angewomon, this is definitely a figure I'd recommend picking up. Just be aware that unless this is a quality control issue on mine, you may have a bit of trouble with it. So next time I'll be reviewing the Deluxe Evolved Trigger, Thursday at 6 PM PST. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give a like, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and if you're new and would like to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. And for now, this is KRX50, riding off.